In my last video, we took a look at Proverbs and secrets. Solomon, there are nested secrets in there. There's a code. There's a way to recover that code. And I've hit on it accidentally. So in this video, what I want to do is show that code. What the purpose of the document is for spiritual enlightenment. I often use the term spiritual versus religious, and people blend those. I do not. To me, spiritual is inward looking to the self. Religion, if you're looking outward to God, to Jesus, that is all outward looking. That is religious to me. If you're praising Jesus and feeling good and thinking he's out there, to me, that is religious, even though the person might say, I feel deeply spiritual. It will be a spiritual feeling, but you're feeling it by relinquishing to something outside of you instead of looking inside. This material turns inward at the same time, being contained in verbiage to be carried by people who will only look outside. It's the ark. All of it is. My name is Dan Paulson, and I want to do something a little bit more. Before moving on from here, and I don't want to get into Proverbs, but people that are interested in it, I have further information on what I found in the last video. This is very fun. It's different, but you can see you can see the puzzle. You can see the puzzle. Let's take a look. In my last video, we took a look at Proverbs and secrets. Solomon, there are nested secrets in there. There's a code. There's a way to recover that code. And I've hit on it accidentally. So in this video, what I want to do is show that code. What the purpose of the document is for spiritual enlightenment. I often use the term spiritual versus religious, and people blend those. I do not. To me, spiritual is inward looking to the self. Religion, if you're looking outward to God, to Jesus, that is all outward looking. That is religious to me. If you're praising Jesus and feeling good and thinking he's out there, to me, that is religious, even though the person might say, I feel deeply spiritual. It will be a spiritual feeling, but you're feeling it by relinquishing to something outside of you instead of looking inside. This material turns inward at the same time, being contained in verbiage to be carried by people who will only look outside. It's the ark. All of it is. My name is Dan Paulson, and I want to do something a little bit more. Before moving on from here, and I don't want to get into Proverbs, but people that are interested in it, I have further information on what I found in the last video. This is very fun. It's different, but you can see the puzzle. You can see the puzzle. Let's take a look. First I want to do is grab an example online, and this is very important. This is why you look for answers for yourself. People mean well, but they honestly, let's just read it here and see what we've got. This was an article by John Piper, founder and teacher of desiringgod.org. So we know we've got someone that's going to have a supernatural take on it. Why would a book that aims to impart insight for wise living put contradictory instructions back to back? I can think of at least 7 reasons. Here's the situation. The book of Proverbs does indeed aim to impart insight for wise living. Probably the most basic insight it offers is this: trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Contrast with, but how can we walk in straight paths if we are told to walk in contradictory ways? Isn't that the case? As in Proverbs 26:4-5, answer not a fool according to his folly, but lest you be like him yourself. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own ways. So it's answer a fool according to his folly, or you'll be like him. Answer a fool according to his folly, or else you won't be in his wise. Anyway, so it says, so which is it? Do we answer to a fool according to his folly, or don't we? Why would the composer, let's call him the author of the book of the Proverbs, put these contradictory extortions back to back? What can we learn from this? It might be something like this. If I am hungry and I eat dinner, I will not be hungry anymore. If I am hungry and I don't eat dinner, I will still be hungry. Okay. What do we have going on? There's something different. That's not a good example, and I'll show you why, but that's how he's treating him. We learn that in the author's mind they are not contradictory. Their meaning is such that if one is true, the other can't ever be true. Neither intentions nor accident can explain why these two exhortations should come back to back if they really were contradictory. They are too close to be an accident, as though the author would not recall in verse 5 what he had just said in verse 4. And if the intention were to sneak in a contradiction, then putting the exhortations back to back is the worst way to sneak it in. They virtually scream, here we are, two seemingly contradictory instructions. And I'm going to tell you right there, people see these. Those are what we're supposed to pay attention to when we interpret. I'll go on. If we treat the author the way we would like to be, if we treat the author the way we would like to be treated, we will surely conclude this. Strange as it sounds, he meant to do this. What he does not want us is to be muddle-headed. His aim is to keep us wise, not confused. So in his mind, this is no contradiction. Something else is going on. So too, we learn from this strange juxtaposition the real nature of a proverb and how to read this book. I'm just going to do this, and then I'm going to tell you why I've got an issue with it. If we give the author the benefit of the doubt, well, that's a good idea, and assume he knows what he's doing. When did he write this? Is it in the Bible? We will infer that he's telling us that it's okay for Proverbs to sound contradictory. Exactly. Why? Because the real nature of most Proverbs is not a rule that is used the same way in all circumstances at all times. What? Did you just say you can use a proverb the way you want to, depending on the circumstances? Yeah, that's what he said. Rather, a proverb is often a recommended way of acting that will be wise in some settings and not in others, or a general observation of experience that is very often true and useful, but not always true in every situation. The same act may be wise in one setting, but foolish in another. The same fact may hold in one situation, but not in another. All proverbs are true, but they are not always true in every situation, says this author. And I say that's not right. Every one of them is true, and they have to be interpreted. If they sound contradictory, you're not interpreting it. And he's saying it about the world. These all pertain to the world, whether it's, it applies here, so I'm going to use it. It doesn't apply here. I'm not going to use it. Flexibility. Right here, we have morphing of the religion. We don't know what it means, so I'm going to tell you that you can kind of use it the way you want to. All right, so when it comes to all of these verbal techniques, it can be hard to nail down the words, and I mean, it's a big study. What are allegories? What are metaphors? What are proverbs, psalms, parables? All of these are different techniques, fables. They're all techniques, mental techniques used to carry a deeper meaning. And this is no different. That's exactly what these are. However, they can be applied to the world. The tortoise and the hare, the story goes on, and the implication is, we're told by the author, is that there's a meaning in there that it's slow and steady that wins the race. It never says that in the story. You read the story and you think through it and you glean that lesson from the story. But it's about the physical world. Proverbs in the Bible are about the mental, the psychological, the inner, the spiritual. They all go there. They are nested in a way that they fit in here, and once they are understood, they will no longer be in conflict. Okay, what I'm going to do now is take this one that he listed here as the contradiction. Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest you be like him yourself. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. So let's go ahead and define this just to see what's going on, and this is only for real extreme thinkers. This is Proverbs 26, 4 and 5, that he just listed there as the conflict. Do not answer fools according to their folly, lest ye be a fool yourself. Answer fools according to their folly, lest they be wise in their own eyes. You're like, well, okay, wait a minute. Do you or don't you? Okay, what we need to do is identify what these actually are. Answer a fool. A fool is a very vague term, isn't it? Who determines what a fool is? You? Them? So fool is not an okay term. Fool in this material exists with other material. And fool is the opposite of the person who has the fear of the Lord or the knowledge. The fool is the person that doesn't know what the fool is the person that doesn't realize. This is us early on in life, not realizing that we are living through our physical experiences, the judgments of our physical experience. We haven't disconnected from that. So this is most people. The unaware person, everybody who begins judging life and living, that's the fool, and we're living according to our folly. We're living through cause and effect, and if we answer to them, we act like them, then we are on their level. We're like them. So if they're living blind and not realizing that, and I mean blind in this case, blind to the idea that they are just not stepped back and seeing what is driving things. They are a part of what is being driven. If we are there, if we're responding to them, then we too are being driven. We are also caught up in it. We are also connected to it. However, answer fools according to their folly, or else they will be wise in their own eyes. What I'm going to do is rephrase these down here. The first one, if we change fool to unaware, that's the opposite of what we're looking for, the person that has knowledge. Don't live like the unaware, living without true knowledge, or you are unaware yourself. And then if we have answer fools according to their folly, lest they be wise in their own wise, this is live unaware like others, or they will think themselves knowledgeable, which is like, do not cast your pearls before the swine, which is, where did I have that a little bit farther down here? Sorry, I shut that off too soon. Okay, what I put, you could say this means know the truth, the implicit spiritual truth, but don't run around telling everyone else they're wrong. They will fight and argue with you. Yeah, keep it to yourself. That's what this means right here. It is not a conflict. It's telling you there's more to this. Look inward. Everybody that's carrying it, what am I doing? I'm casting pearls, aren't I? Except I'm doing it in public. We have a different life. We're not talking. We can't meet each other. We have to do something different. I will go over what we did in the first video just a little bit here to get us caught up. I'll do this pretty quickly, though. This is going to be advanced, so I'm sure anybody really interested at this point that's still listening is probably in that camp. The last one started right off with here's where it comes from, what the prologue is: for learning about wisdom and instruction, for understanding the words of insight, for gaining instruction in wise dealing, righteousness, justice, and equity, to teach shrewdness to the simple, knowledge and prudence to the young. Let the wise too hear and gain in learning, and the discerning acquire skill, to understand a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and their riddles. Now, this is the opposite of the fool that we just talked about, the person who is not this. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. First off, you're like, well, what is fear of the Lord? That's a weird thing. But remember, we were just told to understand a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and their riddles. Then it goes right into the fear of the Lord. This is a riddle. It does not mean I need to be afraid of God or afraid of Jesus or anything like that. It does not mean that. The fear of the Lord is an analog. It's holding a different meaning than what it sounds like on the surface. But it's saying right here, it is the beginning of knowledge. Okay? Knowledge. This is a mental process. Fools, there we are. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. That is who we're talking about in the last verse. That's the fool right there, the one that does not have this. Okay, so what I do is right off the bat, I want to know what this fear of the Lord is. I type in fear over here into the document, and it comes up exactly 20 times, which gets my attention from other work. 20 is a number that is a commonly reoccurring analog used to replicate the same time. This time, it would be like naked, unashamed in the Garden of Eden, or in this case, farther down the road, it is having knowledge, but being detached at that point. We can't get back there. We cannot be ignorant. We are of what is going on in the world. We now know what's going on in the world. We've had that experience. Now we need to disconnect from what we have mentally grasped onto. That is what we're looking for. Letting go of that stuff to feel free within ourselves, spiritually free of the things that hurt us inside. Okay, so 20 right there represented that spot, and it came up 20 times. So I think, the first thing I want to do as I go through here is I want to see all of these. As I start reading through them, I go, well, because they hated knowledge, they did not choose the fear of the Lord. And I thought that sounds kind of opposite of this. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Because they hated knowledge, they did not choose fear of the Lord. And I thought, those sound like opposites, like Buddha dual verses. So first thing I want to do is I'm just going to go grab them wherever they are. I'm going to cut and paste them into a document on their own. I want to see them all together. They're supposed to be that way, I think. I don't know. I just want to see them together. So it's easier to look at that way. So here I do it. Okay, so I copy and paste all of them into a different document, all 20 occurrences of that. And as I begin to read through here, what I see is exactly that. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Now, everything I've got asterisks in here, I've added those in. I'm putting some notes in here. And we're going to do this as you do this in your head as you're going along. You don't just read it plain language. You look at this and go, okay, what's the fear of the Lord? What's knowledge? Fear of the Lord, that's the analog. That's what's going to be used throughout the document. I want to know what the definition of it is. That's the beginning of knowledge. So what is the beginning of knowledge? Fear of the Lord equals knowledge. You see algebra in here. Because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. Okay, so there's a few things going on together, but this one would say not using knowledge is no fear of the Lord. Fear of the Lord is knowledge. So these are opposing verses. It's, here, let me read, this is from Buddha, the Dhammapada. This is an example I'm talking about. This one is not in parable form. It's simply a dual verse form like that. He abused me. He beat me. He defeated me. He robbed me. And those who harbor such thoughts, hatred will never cease. He abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me. And those who do not harbor such thoughts, hatred will cease. You see, there's a dual thing going on there, but it's not nested in any cryptic verbiage. That one's very plain language. What we have here is that kind of a duality going on. However, it's nested in cryptic verbiage. There's another layer of interpretation we have to do. Where Buddhists very much do this, this one is okay. It is in here, but we're going to put it in such a way that a lot of people are going to carry it. Okay, fun stuff. In and of itself, that might not be that significant. We're just building something. Let's see what else as we move along here. As I get into chapter number 2, one of the things I begin to notice off the bat is I've got if, then. I've got a significant if, then. This is where I say algebra, but I mean Boolean algebra. My child, if you accept my words and treasure up my commands within you, making your ear attentive to wisdom and inclining your heart to understanding. If, indeed, you cry out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, if you seek it like silver and search for it as hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. Find the knowledge of God and find the knowledge of God. There was something added right there. Then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. Where did that come from? So I want to keep an eye on knowledge of God. Knowledge. If these do these three things, then we will understand and have two analogs, fear of the Lord and knowledge of God. Yeah, this would fit into the supernatural aid on certain templates. And since nothing's supernatural, this is the understanding we need to figure out where we came from and how we resolve it. So as we go through this, accepting the words and treasure my commandments within you. These are the words right here. This is what we need to understand. The commandments that are within us. Not from outside, but from within us. How does things function with us? Making our ear attentive to wisdom, so listening. Inclining your heart to understanding, that's like seeing, open heart. You have open mind. You have the mote out of your eye. We don't have a conviction of what there is. We are open-minded. If indeed you cry out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, you're the kind of person that's like, you know what? I don't believe what I'm told. I want to know. I want to know. Something's wrong. I want to know. If you seek it like silver and search for it, for hidden treasures, seek and knock and you will find. Then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. So the fear of the Lord to me is this understanding of this idea that we have become connected to life experiences. We know this from just looking at our own life. We can examine that and see that this would fit along with that criteria. That we are, well, if you're using this as an inner seeking path, that's going to work. If you're using it as a religious path, it will not. Okay, so we've got our if-thens right there. That this right here describes what it is. So what we really have, fear of the Lord and knowledge of God, is this area right here where we're looking for wisdom. We want the truth and reality, insight and understanding, and we want it so desperately we're just going to dig hard for it. Do not be wise in your own eyes. This is first sin. Don't be wise in your own eyes, which means when you look at something and you judge it, which we're going to do, we will do that as we live life. We're going to judge experiences, name experiences, or in this case, we see it with our own eye. We are being wise in our own eyes. This means what I see, I believe is true, and it's not. This is first sin, naming. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. So now evil we see is judged life experiences, and that turning away from that stuff is the fear of the Lord. There we have it more and more coming online. The fear of the Lord is the hatred of evil. Evil is not evil. Evil is an analogous term, which means we have judged life. That is what is hurting us. Inner peace comes from letting go. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight. Holy One, knowledge, insight. The fear of the Lord prolongs life, but the years of the wicked will be short. This is years of when you're living free, that's called life. When you're happy and joyous, or you're not hurt, you're not haunted, you're in control of your life, but you're happy. That's life. When you're not, that's death. When you just feel, oh my God, I'm not alive anymore. The fear of the Lord prolongs life. Understanding this knowledge will make you happier much longer, but the years of the wicked, those who do not understand wicked, are going to be also fools. But the years of the wicked will be short. We are all wicked. We are all fools. This is how we start life. We are in these stories. We have to unwrap our ego and see us in here. Those who walk uprightly fear the Lord. Look at uprightly right there. Fear the Lord. They just created an analog. Do you see that? Those who walk uprightly fear the Lord. Fear the Lord was just established as an analog. Now we add uprightly and say, oh, it's the same thing. See how they just snuck that in there? Uprightly now equals fear the Lord. This is an analog creation in and for Proverbs. And if I go, remember there was fear was 20 times in there. If I go search for uprightly, which just appeared right here, I find it 22 times. In the fear of the Lord, one has strong confidence, and one's children will have a refuge. Okay, this is all still psyche inside the mind. So the fear of the Lord, one has strong confidence. You no longer worry about things. You're like, yeah, okay, I got this. Yeah, I see what's going on. You kind of lose the fear of things. You're no longer grasping onto something that you wish that's a supernatural. And one's children will have a refuge. The children is what acts out of us, the offspring of our inner selves. We will be peaceful inside and not acting out. The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, so that one may avoid the snares of death. So there we have fountain of life being added in as well. Better is life with the fear. Better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble with it. Okay, so this one means better is a little. Better to have very little in life while you're happy than have bunches of stuff and not be happy. Happiness is more important. This disconnected from things is more important than having all kinds of stuff and being frazzled. The fear of the Lord is instruction and wisdom, and humility goes before honor. We got to drop our egos to get this. And there is wisdom instruction in here. You see, this is spread out all throughout the whole document, throughout Proverbs. By loyalty and faithfulness, iniquity is atoned for. Okay, what is iniquity? We just put that in there. Iniquity is what hurts us. We want to atone for it. We want to stop hurting. How do we stop hurting? By loyalty and faithfulness. Faithfulness to our understanding and loyalty continuing with it. We tend to maybe look at it a little bit and then drop it. We don't habituate the changes necessary to become better. By loyalty and faithfulness, and iniquity is atoned for. We have to work at it and spend time with it and know that it's going to cyclically return. And by the fear of the Lord, one avoids evil. We need to continue to work with and function with the higher self and understanding of what that is. The fear of the Lord is life indeed. Yes, that's where we go, I'm living life now. Filled with it, one rests secure and suffers no harm. Those repeated cycles can cease to come up. The reward for humility and fear of the Lord is riches and honor in life. So once you're there, riches and honor, life just, as within, so without, period. You got it good inside, then it'll be good outside. Do not let your heart envy sinners, but always continue in the fear of the Lord. Sinners was just developed as another analog. Where did that come from? Sinners was not used here before. It's going to continue fitting the same motif. So sinners will be the same thing as the fools, or, people who are not looking for the truth, that sort of thing. So that's us in the beginning. We're all sinners. So that's when we live life not realizing. That doesn't mean we're doing bad things. It means we're just judging life going, God, why is it like this? And we become products of what we are. That's our sinner stage, our development stage, or you can call it whatever you want to. If they call it sinner here, it makes it somehow easy to carry without people understanding that word means something on that template. Do not let your heart envy sinners. Do not experience the physical life and judge it, but always continue in the fear of the Lord. Stay detached. My child, fear the Lord and the king. Boom, right there. King. They just added that in, and if you go search the document, you will see king also appears 33 times. So what they're doing is creating this place up here, this mental space, and then without repeating it over and over again, by keeping things, mixing it up, they're going to also use upright and also use king to mean the same thing. They just created those as analogs right here. Right in your face. Didn't even make it sneaky. They could have repeated king 3 times or something up in here and then repeated it throughout the document, or 7 times, or various things. But in this case, it's a lot simpler. Right there, boom. This is like that. Both of these are the same thing. Fear the Lord and the king, and do not disobey either one of them. So don't leave that pathway of grasping onto things. For disaster comes from them suddenly, and who knows the ruin that both can bring. Cycling of issues come up when it happens. Happy is the one who is never without fear, but one who is hard-hearted will fall into calamity. Happy is the one who is never without fear. So you always have this with you. You're always living through this higher existence. It's not fear, remember. We have to disconnect. Being naked is a good thing in public. In the spiritual world, it means we have nothing to hide. Fear, in this case, doesn't mean I'm afraid. It means that kind of the opposite. I have no fear. But one who is hard-hearted, that's closed down. I don't want to see those things. Shut up. Leave me alone. It's their fault. It's not me. I don't fit here. The world is screwed up. That's the problem. Will fall into calamity. The fear of others lays a snare, but one who trusts in the Lord is secure. The fear of others is a snare. This means don't listen to people teach you what it's about, telling you things like, you use them sometimes and other times you don't. You listen to people like that, that's the fear of others. That's not who you listen to. That's a snare. But one who trusts in the Lord is secure. One who figures this out, you figure it out. You're the only one that can do it. You don't follow anybody ever. You get the material, you turn inward. It becomes yours or not. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Woman is analogous for our inner selves. The inner self who is disconnected from everything is to be praised. That's where it is all held, inside of us. In fact, let's just give it a quick once over here. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Then we've got here that I've got highlighted, our fear of the Lord equals knowledge. Not using knowledge equals no fear of the Lord. We've got our duality shown in the verse right there. The duality in our life tells us that as we move along and something happens, depending on how we judge it, is how it becomes a part of us. Then we move into our if-thens. If you do these three things, it's almost like a three-input AND gate with two outputs. You will have both the fear of the Lord and the knowledge of God if you do these three things. So you're looking for this information, and you're looking diligently, and God is the higher self. We need to use this in order to self-heal for our inner path to inner salvation. Do not be wise in your own eyes. That is first sin, naming, I'm judging things. Fear of the Lord, turn away from evil. Evil is judged life experiences. Turn away from those. Fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Inner peace comes from letting go. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So we went through all of this. Uprightly, fear of the Lord. The analog was creation, created there. Fear of the Lord and the king. Fear of the Lord, king for Proverbs. Analog, creation in and for Proverbs. Here we've got this equates to what my previous work has as the 7-day creation 7-3. With a bit more to it, we're developing the idea, too, that we, at this point in time, we also are connected with the higher self. Only we're aware of it, where then we were not. Anyway, fear of the Lord then appears 20 times, which tells me, okay, that fear of the Lord links with Abrahamic material. But then upright occurs 22 times and king 33 times throughout all of Proverbs, so that they don't have to use fear of the Lord. What would that be? Well, actually, it's exactly 73. I just didn't want to say it because I looked up and saw the 7-3, and I was like, nah, that's... I think sometimes you just hit accidents, but sometimes you go, boy, I don't know. There's so much it lines up, it just boggles the mind. And, you don't have to force it to fit. Here's an instruction sheet. 20-step instruction sheet. Everything you need to read this document. Then what do? They chunk it out in bits and pieces and scatter it throughout there so you can't see it. You have to gather it. And you know what? That's what we're doing. Again, I can't emphasize enough. They had it gathered as soon as they had it memorized. They got the drop on us. I just wanted to say that. That's what I see in Proverbs. I don't want to mess with it. I don't. I have other stuff to do. But I saw that after, I hadn't looked at it. And you look at it and go, well, here's something that's actually kind of obvious to see. Putting it together was an accident. I noticed in those first two that I recognized that duality, and I thought, I just want to put these together to see how it flows. Maybe something's there. That's how you find it. It's by accident and just figuring out that they are doing something in there. This is, yeah. I feel like the Goonies looking for One-Eyed Willie's treasure or something. We're doing it through the Bible. Does that sound bizarre? Anyway, all right. If you're looking at Proverbs, check that out. Put those together. There's your instructions, and it tells you what it is. Fear of the Lord is not, oh my God, or I love you. It is connection with the higher self and having the knowledge of understanding how this process works, where I am using my consciousness, which is in fear. But it experienced life, put everything away. I have to use my consciousness as the go-between, between my memories and my higher self, while using the higher self to heal, while letting the conscious have enough courage to do that, to overcome the fears. And that is a very difficult process. That is what fear of the Lord is right there. Yeah, fearful, isn't it? All right. Hope the video was fun. See you in the next one.